Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Weekend Conversations by the Eternal Quest in association with the Ahmedabad Book Club. We're so glad to be back with our guest, Dr. Manisha Saxena. So, let me tell you a brief about her. Dr. Manisha Saxena is a pediatrician by profession, practicing at Bharuch, Gujarat, and a multifaceted personality with many talents. Her debut novel, Natal Fault, was published in 2016 and launched across the country at several bookstores. It's available at Amazon and other e commerce sites both in India and abroad. The book was also launched at Ahmedabad International Literature Festival. And her second novel, a crime thriller, is in pipeline and shall be published by Pune based Vishwakarma Publications. Her poems and articles have been published by the Twin Cities supplement of the Times of India and the Outlook Traveler magazine. Her YouTube is mainly a travel blog and has many recommended by the Citizen Journalist channel of CNN IBN. She also contributed blogs. She has been invited to deliver book talks at several reputed institutions, including IIM Ahmedabad. Besides writing, she loves to experiment and explore. And let me tell you, she is a trained classical singer and is passionate about photography and sketching too. Welcome, ma'am. We're so glad to have you.
Thank you, Didi. Thank you for the warm introduction. And
Thank you.
thank you,
Yes,
Vijayalakshmi ma'am of the Eternal Quest for organizing this talk show. I'm greatly honored to be here on this platform and to connect with all the readers and book lovers.
yes, ma'am. So I hope all our viewers and the audience are staying safe and taking care of yourselves and your family members. And I know it's a tough time going on, but let's just all stay strong together, help each out, like everyone, and probably we'll definitely get out of this very soon. So, to begin with, ma'am, I'd like to know, being a pediatrician and an author, how do you mix and match medicine and literature?
Yeah, that's an interesting question, Didi. See, medicine is the science which requires great sensitivity and sensibility on the part of doctor in diagnosing and treating the disease and alleviating the pain of the patient and bringing back their joys. Similarly, literature writing requires sensitivity and sensibility on the part of the writer, author, poet, etc., to reflect whatever happens in the society and pour it out in the words so that they have effect on future readers and all generations to come and to get inspired. So both of these fields do have some connection. And moreover, as doctors, there have been several doctors who have richly contributed to literature in the past. Like there are, of course, there are well-known names like Sir Arthur Conan Doyle of the Sherlock Holmes series, Anton Chekhov, the Russian playwright, he was too a medical doctor. Michael Crichton, who has written the Jurassic Park series, which have been converted into so many films and episodes and series, he was also a medical doctor. Then we have our own Banpul, and there are so many doctors. Siddharth Mukherjee is there. So they have written fiction. Some of them have written a totally social fiction, but many of them have applied their knowledge of medical science to write an investigative fiction or a science fiction like the Jurassic Park and uh, create some great works of writing for the readers. So, likewise, I too have a dream to put my words for eternity. And like my first novel, Natal Fault, although it's a socio-political fiction, but in the backdrop, there is the topic of dementia, which is dealt with very sensitively in the book. Similarly, my second book, with the proposed title of Blue Jeans, it's a crime thriller, and here I have used my knowledge of forensic sciences uh, and the tools which are used in medical sciences to invest to for the purpose of investigation in the crime thriller. So that's how we doctors can apply our medical knowledge and put it in literature in a creative fashion or manner.
That's a beautiful combination, ma'am, I must say. So, can I know who has been your greatest inspiration, a driving force, or someone you look up to?
This is a very difficult question because for someone or something to be an inspiration, I think this type of feeling cannot be put in superlatives that he or she is my greatest inspiration, because I think, of course, several writers and artists they do claim that a particular someone is their muse, is their inspiration, and for me also there have been different people, but to pinpoint or to say that someone special has been an inspiration is very difficult. But I think inspiration can be a person, can be a place, can be an episode, can be even a single moment which just touches your heart, and it ignites your or kindles your mind so that you just pour out your feelings and write down something worthwhile. So that way, I think, and I think most of the writers that I have read through the years, most of the people I have come in contact with, in some way or the other, they have inspired or touched my life so that I'm able to write that way.
Wonderful, ma'am. And the title of the book, Natal Fault, is pretty unique and interesting. So, could you tell us more about the book?
Yeah, natal fault is an interesting and unique title, of course. Natal, particularly, it means pertaining to birth. And
Yes.
normally, birth is considered a beautiful event. It is the genesis
Yes.
of life. So, normally, it cannot be labeled as a fault. But, natal fault in my novel is actually a concept, a phenomenon, and the central idea of the novel, which is actually a multi-layered fiction. And natal fault novel has a wide span of 70 years, with several things they are dealt with sensitivity in the book. But to explain the title, I could say that, see, no one has control over his or her own birth. You can be born in a privileged family, or you could have been born in a slum. You do not have, when you are born in a particular society, your mannerisms, your way of life are to a great deal influenced by where you are born. So here comes the social divide. So for the person born in the slums or in an underprivileged society, perhaps that time it becomes a natal fault. So that the person having born in the privileged society is having an edge over it. Similarly, consider two warring nations. See, uh, normally we owe allegiance and patriotism to our own nation. And suppose there are two warring nations on two sides of the fence. Uh, Normally, the people on the other side will owe allegiance and patriotism to their own nation. So everything revolves around where you are born. Again, if there is a war, and there are two sides, so their birth becomes the fault, and with each side complying to his or her own.
Yes. Yes.
Similarly, yeah, and the third thing is the period. A person born in today's world has most of the information, and the world has shrunken because of the technology, and you
Yes.
have most of the information at your fingertips. But consider life 70 to 80 years back or beyond that. People going for war, leaving their families. There was no connection for months together, sometimes years together, and then near and dear ones were just uh, praying to God that their person comes back to them hale and hearty. So
Yes.
that is the natal fault of the person born in that particular period. He has the disadvantage over the person born in this period. So all these types of concepts have been. It is basically a concept, and these concepts ignited my mind and have been merged to form a fiction with this title.
Okay, that's really beautiful, ma'am. I'm really glad to know about it. While we're talking about the book, I would like to know, did you face any difficulty while publishing the book? And if so, how has been the journey and how did you overcome it?
of course, since Natal Fault was my debut novel, so at that time I was also I mean new to the field, and I did not have much idea about the publishers. But then gradually, as I searched for them, I found that there are two kinds of publishing. Uh, Broadly traditional and self-publishing, and I wanted to go by the traditional route because they have several advantages. Because the
Yeah.
traditional publishers, they take the responsibility of putting up your books at different e-commerce sites, at the bookstores, and transport of books, and they help you with the marketing and other things, and they provide other feedback, and you get a platform. If you are self-published author, everything lies on your shoulder, and so naturally I wanted to get it published the traditional way. So I looked up for the publishers, and uh, I say yes. There's several well-known publishers. They don't respond to your mails, and normally those who respond, they have initial time from the first query. The first query is what they call the synopsis of the book. You have to prepare a synopsis of the book, and most of them require first 3 or 4 sample chapters. That should be ready. That is the first thing that you give to the publishers. So even after sending the query, the sample chapters and the this thing synopsis, there's a lag time of say 3 to 4 months. Some publishers even take 6 months to reply to your query, the traditional ones. So you have to have a quite a lot of patience in dealing with the publishers at that phase. And after that, even after 6 months, maybe your work is rejected, you are not then you have to look for another. So I would suggest that one should apply to several publishers at a time, and meanwhile use that time of 3 to 6 months in polishing the rest of the chapters and script. So for Natal Fault, also this journey was long. It took me full around 1 year from the initial draft to the final draft to getting the contract and the book being finally published. It was a long journey. For my second book, therefore, I went through my literary agent, Mr. Sohail Mathur of the Book Papers, and he helped in pitching my work. In that case, I did not write to the publishers myself, but he reached out to the publishers, and finally, I'm thankful that Mr. Vishal Soni of Vishwakarma Publications, he agreed to uh, publish this book, and it is in pipeline. Shall be out in the market in some months. So
Eagerly
that's
waiting for that, ma'am. And many congratulations and good wishes for the same also.
thank you, thank you.
Okay. So, talking about literarism, and so could you tell us who has been your favorite author? I know it's difficult to choose
Yes.
amongst all the, yes, it is, but then someone who has had a great impact during your life, or probably your journey to date.
See, again, like who's your greatest inspiration? Who's your greatest author? It's a very
Yes,
difficult question.
definitely.
And
Yes.
reading for me too was an early passion. It started very early because in our
Okay.
days when we were small, there was no such social media. Even television came when we were,
Yes.
I think, around in class 10. And so books were the only things that open your windows to the world, and
Yes.
they ignited your minds. Through books we could, at that time, books through books you could know about what was happening in other countries, at other places, and what's the lifestyle. You could be influenced to that. So books had a major role while I was developing as a child. And it started very early for me, right from the fairy tales like Cinderella and Goldilocks, Alice in Wonderland. So I think all those authors over the period of time, they influenced. Later on, it was those mystery books teenagers love, like Agatha Christie, Nancy
Yes.
Drew, and then then gradually romance books of Barbara Cartland and others. Then Mills and Boons were there. So
Yes.
every author, in some way or the other, they influenced. Later on, of course, it was mature fiction. As a child, mature from a child to an adulthood. So the fiction and books also matured along with me. And later on, it was this Khaled Hosseini, Arundhati Roy, Jhumpa Lahiri, Arvind Adiga, all have great works which had great impression and influence over me. Moreover, our own Indian writers, Premchand, Sharatchand, Tagore, all of the very beautiful short stories with a message in each of them, and which reflected beautifully the culture of the society, had in some way or the other influence on me, and I'm greatly indebted to all of them.
Okay, ma'am. Lovely. And talking about the authors, like what kind of books do you like to read, or whenever you get time, which one is the one that you pick up first? Or what are you currently reading? Like probably that also you could share it with us.
Okay. Sometime I reread the books also, because I have read
That's
writing.
exactly yes.
Yes, I love to reread the books which are some of the books which I have written in my childhood or early teens. So sometimes I just like to go through them over and over again, so that I
Yes.
just recapitulate, and when you read some work as a child, as a teenager, and then you read as a mature reader in adulthood,
Definitely have
it makes
that.
a difference. Yes,
Yes,
it
yes,
makes
it
a
does.
difference. Yes,
Yes,
maybe your understanding at that level of time was not so much. Maybe you had skipped the pages
exactly.
only to know the framework of
Yes,
story. And later on, when you read, you go through the nuances and the delicacies and the intricacies of writing, and they have a different, very different effect. So recently,
definitely.
I reread some of the books which I had read earlier in my childhood, like Jane Eyre and Pride and Prejudice, even Tagore's Gitanjali, then Arthur Conan Doyle's Sherlock Holmes series. I reread them. The Tale of Two Cities by Charles Dickens. I think last year I reread all these books along with the new ones, of course. But I just love reading and rereading the classics over the period of time.
Okay,
Rebecca
okay.
is also one of them.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Yes. So you've been indulging in both prose and poetry. Could you shed some light on your writing genre?
Yes, I would say that writing for me, I'm not caged in a certain category, that because there are certain writers who are labeled as romance, or only crime thrillers, or poets, or whatever, nature writers, whatever, or historical fiction, something like that. But for me, writing is very instantaneous, and whatever provokes or ignites or kindles my mind, if I'm really affected by it, and the words just pour out and flow. So sometimes it is in the form of poetry, because poetry does not require a lot of time. There are some moments when you are very sensitive moments, when you are influenced by some things, and if you have a knack, you can just put down poetry, which is a lyrical composition actually, in small time, in short number of small number of words. Whereas to write a bigger short story or novel, you require greater time, greater concentration. So that way, poetry developed, and I'd say that this was also for me. It was an early art, because I remember I had written my first poetry when I was in class 10th, and I recited it in my school assembly. It was Bonds of Friendship, and it was appreciated by my English teachers and all. And my first short story I had written when I was in class 8, which was published in my school magazine. So, writing for me, it was an early passion, and indulging both in poetry and prose was also very early for me. So, I don't feel caged and bound by certain genre. But whatever, I would say, I would repeat, that whatever ignites my mind, it comes out in the form of words.
Okay. And another thing that I would like to know was what has been your role as citizen journalist of CNN IBN?
Yeah, that was an interesting journey. Uh, I don't remember exactly how it began, but I think there was an incident around in sometime in August 2013. It was the molestation of a photojournalist in Mumbai, the Shakti Mills case, if you remember. And
Yes,
this
yes,
was, yes, this was 1 year after the Nirbhaya case, which was
yes,
much.
exactly. Yeah.
Huh. But so that incident, actually, I was very pained and disturbed to see that even in these modern times, when we let out our girls to work out, and to go places, we encourage them to go places. Still, the society is holding them back by such incidents, such gory incidents. It is actually very condemn. We should condemn such acts. So I was very pained by that incident, and again my words flew, and I wrote a blog, and I submitted. The blog was titled uh, "Time to Change Attitude Towards Women," and it was basically based on that incident of the photojournalist. And I submitted that blog to the citizen journalist, and they selected and published it, shared it at their website. So when that was published, that was the first time I was actually recognized as an author in any public domain. Before that, it were my writings, yes. Before that, because they had put up that the views of the author are his or her own, and so they labeled me as an author on basis of that blog.
Okay.
So before that, I was basically writing only for my school and college magazines, and engaged in my profession and family. So writing was at a lull.
Okay.
So when that blog was published, later on I published other blogs also through Citizen Journalist and submitted my photographs and video blogs, travel blogs. Most of them were selected and published by them, and so that was a very encouraging and interesting journey. And in a way, that inspired me to go ahead with writing fiction and my own novel. I thought, yes, if that could be published, why not go for my own personal writing?
Definitely. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So that was an interesting, and it was a, I could say that was a stepping stone or a milestone, which was early milestone, which was very important in my writing journey.
That's wonderful, ma'am. Beautiful to know that. So, usually it's been said that the future depends on the goals and the dreams of the present. Could we know what are your future plans? We know that one book is already in the pipeline, but what about the other future plans regarding your journey?
Yes, Jyoti. Future, of course, depends upon what you work in the present and plan and dream in the present. But
Yes,
in today's uncertain times, this recent, because of this recent pandemic, the last painful 1 to 2 years, life
yes,
is very uncertain for anybody here. But still, and for me, I never planned anything, to be very honest. Uh, as I said, that there was a dream, a desire was always there from my early childhood, but I had not gone very seriously to it. Only, as I said, that when published by Citizen Journalist, I began to uh, think on those lines, and that idea that I should put forth my book. That was around 2013-14 when I wrote for the Citizen Journalist, and then my novel was published, first novel in 2016. So,
okay.
likewise, I think in these uncertain times, it is very difficult to plan something. But still, I would say that like Natal Fault was published, Blue Jeans is in pipeline and should be out soon in a few months. Then I think the best writing is yet to come, because I feel that with time, writers also mature and evolve and improve in their own writing. So maybe I don't have any definite plans, but I'm working towards it, and maybe in future I could come forward with a beautiful story woven with love. It could be a romance, could be a historical fiction, because I love those topics. So hopefully, by God's grace, if everything works fine, maybe in future, few years hence, they could come out.
That's lovely. I'm sure all the readers and the audience and fans out there will be waiting for that, and we wish that happens really soon. So, one message that you would like to give out to all the budding writers out there?
Yeah. There are very many people with dreams. Many people dream to bring out their own books, because I think creativity, we have a lot of creativity among people. Even you see in the short WhatsApp messages that are passed on, I
Correct.
mean, daily, they are so, I mean, they are like micro blogs, and they are so short, and sometimes you are just aghast at the, and you admire the creativity with which they have been written. So,
Yes.
but I feel that, but and you never know the names of whoever has written the initial message, which is just
Yes. Yes.
forwarded and went viral. So people have dreams, but I find that many times they don't just sit with a discipline and put it out or plan for something. They have plenty of thoughts in their mind, but it is like something cluttered. So I think that if you really, for the budding writers, to think seriously on writing, you should organize your thoughts. First of all, any writer should be a good reader because reading is very, very essential to provoke your thoughts and to know what good writing actually is. So, reading, so I would suggest for the budding writers first read, think, process it in your mind, have the discipline, and sit down and put down your words in writing so that they don't just get fizzled out. Because once you don't write, or sometimes a very creative thought or idea just comes across your mind, but if you don't put it down, don't jot it down, you forget it with time. So I would suggest if you are really into serious writing, just organize yourself, may have a writing discipline, and put down your thoughts collectively. Who knows, maybe one line will lead to a paragraph, will lead to a short story, and with that may anytime expand to a novel. So be very positive and organize yourself and go ahead. That's what.
I'm sure many of them will be able to take that if guided, and it'll be really helpful to them. So one thing that I wanted to know was, being a pediatrician and an author, and you also love traveling and blogging, and you do sketching, and you're a classical trained singer also. How do you juggle all of these together with your routine and your busy schedules?
Initially, it was very difficult to me, but by God's grace, I could manage. Uh, I would say that serious writing for me came only when my children grew up. Because when children are small, when family is there and you are with children, the profession
Yes,
was always there. But when children are there, they need special care and training. And
definitely.
so my first writing came out only when my elder daughter she went to the college, and
Okay.
that time I had some time for myself, and I just put in that discipline and write down and wrote down. So it came in the form of novel. So initially in college and school days, you don't have much responsibilities. You're only there to study and do your extracurriculars. So that either it's that time or a later time. In between, of course, when you are in the family and profession, it becomes difficult and to juggle with your hobbies and profession and family. So it is difficult, I understand. But later on, by God's grace, you can get the time and you can. I have seen many writers who, elderly ones. They have come forth with their writings
Yes.
even after their retirement. They have been in jobs, busy schedules, so they could not manage to hone their creativities and gather up their thoughts. So even there's no such thing as delay or late. That you are late in terms of creativity. You can, as long as you can do it, it's and it's worthwhile.
Yes, that's very true, ma'am.
Mhm.
And another thing is, you've been into so many, you have like so many other passion, and you like so much to do and everything. So, but being a pediatrician, one thing that you would like to give out, or a message, or you would like to tell the parents today in this pandemic time, one short message that you would like to give out to them.
uh, this is very important. I would like to reassure the parents that although the pandemic is there, but it's mostly been observed that children are mostly children who are getting COVID positive. They have a milder form of disease. Children that is up to the age of 18 years, we call those children.
18, yes.
Yes. So mostly it has been seen that even if they get COVID positive, they have a milder form of disease which just gets cured at home isolation, and so there's nothing much to panic or worry about it. Even for breastfed mothers, the message is that you can continue with your breastfeeding with masks and proper measures. Uh, it has been authorized by the pediatricians, by the senior pediatricians also, that don't panic. Even if the mother is COVID positive and the child is, you are having a
Yes.
infant.
Symptoms,
So,
yes.
yeah, so there's no need to panic. Like any other viral fever, they will have take its course and get subsided. Only a few cases they have that multi-inflammatory syndrome and require admission. That is only, I think, 5% of cases in children
Yes.
among.
Yes.
So that way, the disease in children is a multiform, but they are carriers of infection. Many times it is said that children spread it more than the adults because
Yes.
they cry, and the masks cannot be controlled on their face and all. So many times they are greater spreaders than the adults. That is also a known fact which is coming out these days. That's
Okay.
what.
Thank you for this guidance also. And we're gonna ending up we're gonna end this up and by one thing that you're a trained classical singer, so I'm not gonna let you go without listening few lines from you, whichever your favorite ones or probably whatever you wish to say it out to our audience.
Yes, singing was also a passion for me, and I should say that I started learning classical music right from the. It was vocal classical right from the age of 4, when I was in class nursery. And that time, our
Okay.
music sir, he used to impart lessons in our own homes. We did not have to go somewhere and learn. He
Yes.
used to come and devote my elder sister and me. We sat there with the tanpuras, and we sang, and it was great. I mean, great creativity, and it developed our character. It developed many things. The classical singing, but over the period of time, of course, I am out of practice. But still, there's a song which has recently ignited my mind, and I think it is very relevant in this current pandemic times. I'll try to sing, and hope you excuse me if I don't make it
No,
good.
ma'am, no worries at all. I know definitely you're gonna be very
Uh,
good.
okay, just give me a minute. I go
Yeah.
just. It can be dedicated to the doctors also, and to
Yeah.
all the healthcare workers, and even to all people who are working hard to help someone during the
Yeah.
pandemic. Okay,
Yes. Yes.
so it is like this. सूरज ना बन पाए तो मन के दीपक जलता चल, भूल के आ अंगारे सच की राह पे चलता चल, सच की राहों पे चलता चल, जीना उसका जीना है जो औरों को जीवन देता है, मधुबन खुशबू देता है, सागर सावन देता है. Thank you.
Beautiful, ma'am. Beautiful. It was so lovely to hear this from you. And lovely wordings and lyrics, and definitely a strong message out to all the doctors, to all the social healthcare workers, and all the people who've been helping the entire nation, probably currently, in getting out of the situation and saving lives. So, thank you so much, ma'am. It was so lovely to hear the song from you.
Thank you. Thank you, Didi. It was a great pleasure meeting you and talking over this chat show. And
Same here.
you all are carrying on great work, bringing up authors on this platform. And I think it's a great initiative by Dr. Vijay Lakshmi, working so hard on
Def-
this.
Yes, yes, definitely. So thank you so much for joining with us, ma'am, and giving us your special time for this session. And to all the viewers and the audience out there, thank you for joining. And we hope that we'll see you next week with our another guest. And this is Dwati Chotai for the Weekend Conversations by the Eternal Quest in association with the Ahmedabad Book Club. I know the times are a bit difficult, but I'm sure that if we stay strong and we support each other and help out each and every one, then probably we'll soon get out of this pandemic situation. Till then, please, everyone, stay safe. Take care of yourselves and your family members and your near and dear ones. And we'll see you next week.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.